Wave attenuation or the production of sheltered water was a particularly difficult problem for the design team of the Mulberry Harbour in World War II. During their voyage to the Quebec Conference in August 1943, Lord Mountbatten staged a makeshift demonstration in a large bath. Professor J. D. Burnout, one of the scientific advisors, floated a fleet of paper ships providing the wave motion using a broom. Upon the command of more waves, the broom was vigorously pumped up and down in order to simulate the English Channel swell, and the paper ships were all lost. The exercise was then repeated, but this time the replacement ships were protected with an inflated life preserver simulating the breakwaters. Despite efforts, no ships were lost and everyone was thus swung over. The overseeing committee worked on a number of options for the production of sheltered water, and in the end 3 systems were used. A. Concrete caissoons called phoenixes. B. Floating cruciforms, bombardons. C. Sunken block ships affectionately termed gooseberries. The phoenixes required a greater quantity of labor material than any of the other components of the Mulberry Harbour, and a small branch was set up in one of the directories of the Ministry of Supply to coordinate construction. J.W., later Sir John Gibson, was made Deputy Director General of Special Civil Engineering, and constructions of the caissoons was allocated to 7 firms, with a group of joint engineers all employed at Southampton. The pre-D-Day programme absorbed at its peak over 22,000 men, many of whom came from Ireland, which was treated at the time as an additional security risk. They included 10,500 labourers, 1,300 scaffolders, 5,000 carpenters and 770 steel fixers, yet even this total was not enough. 1,000 carpenters had to be transferred from the Admiralty, while over 1,000 tradesmen were released from the army to build the caissoons. Men were chosen who were accustomed to working at heights, although as it turned out the gang on the caissoon provided a base for scaffolding. Next there was the problem of finding available construction sites. The Ministry of Supply was given the dry or graving docks at Tilbury and at Goole and Middlesbrough, although they were never made aware of the true purpose of their work on the so-called floating pontoons. One incident at the military base at Marchwood near Southampton, which was integral to the assembly and success of the Mulberry Harbour, which caused alarm, raising the spectre of sabotage, occurred when the cement failed, possibly caused by sugar in the mix. As the aggregates and batching all checked out, there remained only the cement, and the chief technical officer at the company was told to investigate. The worrying point was that this weak concrete joined the precast panels in the pontoon, and to cut it out would damage the panels, and there was no time to get new panels as the moulds had all been dismantled as the contract was already finished. What had actually happened was the cement had come from a different works, and the chemist had had a brainstorm. The cement which had been produced was low-heat Portland cement, but he had allowed it to go into rapid hardening bags. Fortunately in this case, if the low-heat cement was true to form, the strength of the concrete would be sufficient to give a safety factor of about 2, and the consulting engineers decided to go ahead, and everyone breathed again. Because of scarce facilities, another method was to build the caissoons on a beach and launch them sideways down a slipway. Amongst the sites chosen were Stokes Bay, Gosport, as well as Stone Point at Leap Beach, where the caissoons were built one behind another in a production line along a concrete rail on a kill block wall at a height of about 20 feet. Then transferred to 18-ball carriages using special wedges and clamps. Then moved forward by winch and tackle until directly over a slipway. Final stages of construction were completed while the caisson lay moored off the beach. The film also shows feverish activity at the Southampton Weston docks at the King George V graving dock, which was wanted by the War Office for caissoons but instead was used by the Admiralty for the less successful floating bombardons used as breakwaters. The steel work of the bombardments was designed by the firm of Sir William Arrow and Coke, which was well versed in landing craft construction. The organisation of the work differed from that of the Phoenixes in that one firm of steel erectors, Messrs. Cousins and Sutcliffe, was responsible for drawing up the plans. The film shows work on the caissoons at No. 5, the Prince of Wales Dry Dock, where 9 caissoons were constructed. The film shows workers at Southampton Easton Docks with South Weston Hotel in the background, requisitioned by the Royal Navy as HMS Shrapnel. Although launching in the conventional sense is not shown, the Phoenix is seen floating in the Empress Dock at Southampton after completion, awaiting towing to Normandy. By that time the V weapons were causing considerable damage to housing, and the workforce was switched to carry out urgent repair work. Since World War II, discussion has arisen regarding the wartime use of resources for the construction of Mulberry Harbours, but by means of a single technical device the Allies were able to make the Atlantic fortress irrelevant not by force but by British engineering. What is often missing from the assessment is the effect on the morale of troops arriving on the continent and seeing the Mulberry Harbour for the first time. It gave them confidence because it meant that somebody really cared about their courage and sacrifice.